Have you guys noticed how Jordan Peterson seems to have just disappeared? Maybe 6 months ago, he was in the news everywhere. He was on every YouTube channel debating everyone, and he was doing a book launch, and his book was super popular, and now he seems to be gone. I actually really like the guy a lot. When Jordan was first coming onto the scene, a lot of people were comparing the two and saying, hey, you should get Jordan on the channel because he's saying exactly the same stuff that you're saying. So we're very much in alignment and agreement. I love the message that he was producing. I've seen the debates where he talks to people and they're attacking him, but he's sitting there rationally. He's not getting emotional about it, and he's acting like a true stoic and addressing them point by point from an analytical perspective while showing some empathy to their viewpoint. You can probably guess I'm going to be talking about some bad stuff here, and that's what we're going to get into next. What it turns out is the reason why you haven't seen Jordan Peterson is that he was addicted to an anti-anxiety medication called clonazepam. This is a medication that you take for anxiety, okay? And he was taking this. He tried to quit, okay, but he ended up becoming suicidal. He went to Russia to undergo some experimental treatments, and he ended up in a drug-induced coma for over a week. What's interesting about this is one, that he got addicted to this. Two, that he went to Russia for some kind of experimental treatment. And, apparently now he's recovering from suffering nerve damage and not being able to walk on his own. So pretty severe what happened to him. He basically almost died. Mikhaila Peterson, his daughter, talking about what happened. She did an update in February of 2020 talking about what was going on in the Peterson family and describing some of these things. Although, again, you have to take it with a grain of salt because the way she's describing it obviously is going to be in the best light for her dad. But you can watch that video and you can watch the whole video. There's a lot of things that went wrong here. It's kind of hard to know where to start, but I'm going to break it down into a few different things here, my analysis on the situation, and why, like I said, that I believe even though Jordan Peterson has done some really great things, and I agree with a lot of what he said and a lot of his philosophy, he's done some harm here, and it's not a very good example. It's hypocritical to some degree. He was preaching about self-reliance, okay, and being a stoic. All the while, he was addicted to a drug. That is not exactly great, okay? That's kind of the opposite of being stoic, and it's pretty hypocritical, right? If you're telling people, all right, you shouldn't depend on external influences, and you should, essentially espouse the stoic philosophy of everything of value coming from within you, yet you are addicted to a drug and you're not telling people about that, it sort of eats away at your credibility. And again, do I want his credibility to be eaten away at? No, because what he's fundamentally preaching is the exact philosophy that I would espouse as well, that I do on this channel, of self-reliance, of the opposite of the victim mindset. But I have to be honest with you intellectually and say that it really undermines his credibility and makes him look bad to the rest of the world, which hurts the message overall. And it hurts my message as well, because if I'm someone who is saying Jordan Peterson is doing all these great things, then he's secretly, addicted to this medication and is not as self-reliant as he's preaching, it's sort of bad. Again, I know that some of you that are going to be like, wait, that's not fair. He was struggling with his wife having cancer, with depression, and etc. But here's a quote that someone on Reddit posted. I found this in one of the articles. He said, he was using a drug to escape the pain of reality, period. Call it whatever you like, but it doesn't change the facts. And that's the truth. That's the fundamental problem I have here, is that he was really talking about this message of not doing that, but then he was doing that, right? He wasn't quite as strong of a stoic of the guy that we wanted him to be. Believe me, I'm disappointed by that. I like the guy a lot, okay? I really do. I have nothing against him personally, but he just didn't live up to his own standard, which is unfortunate, and we're all susceptible to that. I mean, I have certainly lived below my standard many times in my life, right? I have certainly preached a thing and then have found myself slipping behind that thing. Now, you see me and the accountability every day on YouTube pretty much, and I try to live by my standards as much as I can, and I usually do. But I have fallen short. Everyone has fallen short from time to time. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about here is he wasn't practicing. What happened to everyone following him? They basically look stupid now. I talked about this. Leading people is a very big responsibility. It's not one to be taken lightly. Again, it doesn't mean that he has to live a perfect life, but he made people that were following him look kind of stupid. You have to own your mistakes, which I haven't seen him do. I haven't seen him come out. I've seen the video from his daughter, but I haven't seen him come out and say, look, guys, you know what? I done fucked up. All right, I basically said, don't depend on external circumstances. Don't try to escape. Don't rely on escapism, right? Escapism was something that I know he did some videos and preach against. Yet I did that. Yet I've been doing that. I struggle with that. I struggle just like you. That's a fine message to come out with, to say, what I say still stands, even though I might not be strong enough to do it all the time. It's still valuable, and I'm still learning. That's a fine message. I would take that message. But he didn't represent himself that way, and he did not represent that message. And again, I'm not trying to attribute malice to this. I don't think he was trying to fool anyone. I think he's just going through a lot of shit, and it's hard. But I have to be objective and tell you these things, not from a place of trying to hurt him or hurt his reputation or even anger at him, just because we should see these things and learn these lessons from these things. I'm sad he's suffering, all right? I really like him as a person. But if you see fraud and you do not say fraud, you are a fraud. And that's the kind of responsibility that I have in this situation, is as someone who has supported Jordan Peterson and still does. I still like him as a person and believe that you should watch his videos because they have very good content and what he talks about is still solid. I still have to say, when I see fraud, I have to say fraud. And in this case, it is fraud. This is a good time to hit the like button while your finger's hovering over the dislike button. If you haven't, hit the like button on this video. It's going to get a little mean here, okay? But it's important to look at what people do, not necessarily what they say. I'm going to go for what some people will call a low blow. But again, like I said, I'm not trying to attack him personally, but I have to point this out because I'm not being intellectually honest if I don't. Let's look at his daughter's Instagram. This is not what you would expect Jordan Peterson's daughter to be posting on Instagram with all the other women who use their body on Instagram to get fame temporarily, to be a quote influencer. Can he control this directly? No, he can't. And this would not be a huge problem if he wasn't preaching a message of traditional family values and the red pill. It's sort of a problem when Jordan Peterson is talking about traditional family values, and that's one of the core messages that he's preaching, and he's talking about red pill type of stuff, right? Basically talking about discouraging women from this high sexuality type of using their body and using men and this kind of gynocentric society. All right, he's talking about that, and he's talking about the emasculation of men and toxic masculinity and all these things, and how these are bad things. Yet his daughter, this is her Instagram. You might be saying, well, this is kind of a low blow down. I get it. I totally get it. But here's the other piece of this. He's using her as a mouthpiece right now, which is not smart. So she has the right to post whatever kind of naked pictures she wants on her Instagram. I don't really give a fuck. It doesn't really matter, except that she's reflecting on him, and the fact is that he's not distancing himself from her behavior. She's got her Instagram, and she's literally posting family updates on YouTube and on her Instagram about him, and he's allowing her to do it in the sense that he's giving her the information, right? She's basically being a mouthpiece for him, and so he's sort of condoning it indirectly of what she's doing. You would kind of think that someone like Jordan Peterson would be like, hey, you know what, you're misrepresenting me here. I love you. You're my daughter. Whatever. You can do whatever you want. But let me just say that, you're kind of hurting me because I'm telling people to not be thoughts, and I'm telling people to not, embrace this hookup culture and to instead look at strong family values, and then you're doing this. That conversation obviously hasn't taken place because she wouldn't be speaking for him if that were the case. Again, I don't mean this to be a low blow. Like I said, I like Jordan Peterson. But this is sort of one of those things that makes me say, it really hurts. One more nitpicking point, the carnivore diet. If you're vegetarian or vegan, it's cool. We're cool. We don't have to fight. But I'm just going to say that, from a health perspective, everything I've studied on it seems good. Jordan Peterson comes on Joe Rogan's podcast and preaches about how it basically cured his depression and a bunch of other ailments, right? And he preaches about how this worked for Mikhaila as well, and I think she was on the podcast or whatever, talking about how it basically cured Jordan Peterson's depression and her autoimmune disease and all this stuff.
She's just glowing with health. All of her autoimmune symptoms are gone, all of them. And she was also seriously depressed, severely depressed, way worse than you think. She couldn't stay awake for more than about 6 hours without taking Ritalin, and she was dying.
But then it's obviously not working. Okay, that's the problem I have. So stop telling people that the carnivore diet cures every single fucking ailment and cures depression and mental illness and all these things if it's not working on you. Go back on Joe Rogan's podcast and say, whoa, wait a minute. I like it. It was a good diet. I lost some weight. I felt like it helped me a little bit. But you know what? I was still suicidal, and I was still addicted to medication, and I was still taking it. It obviously was not the cure-all. That's all I'm saying. Where do we go from here? It's clear that Jordan Peterson was not the leader he wanted to be. He cracked. Let's be honest about that. It's true. Okay, so maybe, he was going out there and he was hitting the speaking circuit hard, and maybe it was too much for him, or whatever was going on in his life. He just couldn't stand up to, and it was quite an ideal to stand up to. I'm not saying, it was a lot on his shoulders, but he did crack. What I want to point out here is that's the problem with following a guru. Okay, you can be disenchanted, and then go the other way. So you could look at Jordan Peterson, and there's plenty of people, I think, that probably followed him religiously, that they saw this, okay, and then they're like, oh, man. And they went the other way, and they abandoned everything he said and thought of him as a loon or crackpot or whatever, and went the other way. And that's the danger of this thing. So don't do that. Just because someone doesn't live up to the high ideal or standard they set, it doesn't invalidate their words and message, okay? It's good if they are in alignment, but people are imperfect. Keep the good. Throw out the bad and keep growing. Right? That's what we can do. That's what we can learn. Like I said, I still would encourage you to watch Jordan Peterson's content and to listen to what he has to say, because he's a very wise man. Even though, like I said, in this video I've pointed out some of the mistakes that I feel that he's made, and some of the ways that he had some shortcomings that are just objectively true. Try to find a group of like-minded people instead of one guru to follow, right? So myself included. Like, don't just bank on everything that I'm saying, right? Instead, try to find a group of people. I do have a group that I have created for you guys. It's called the Bulldog Mindset Membership. I am not putting myself as the only person there that you can learn from. Maybe I will crack someday. Maybe I will. I don't know. See you next time.